Recording. Welcome to our Throwback Thursday, where we'll discuss previous trips booked with points. Each week, I'll have a guest teach us everything about how they book a certain destination. And this week is going to be a super special one. I'm here with Tim. He was born in Philly, and now he lives in Miami. He started the points game in 2016, right when Chase Sapphire Reserve was launched. Whoa. He has visited over 35 countries, all in points. And in the past 2 years, he redeemed 2 million points. And if you guys have any questions during our live, please put them in the chat. Tim, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Been very excited about this. You did a pretty good recap. Been in the game since 2016, but of course, I feel like when everyone started, I just used points in like the Chase portal, so it was like a slow progression. I don't think I really started getting like good redemptions until like a couple of years ago. So we really did a lot of trips the last 2 years specifically, and I wish I had the exact number of points I spent. That would be cool to track. But I tried to go through like all my reservations and like all the redemptions and stuff, but it's not super easy. Amex only goes back like a year of like redemptions, so I'm
Oh,
just
really?
guessing.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, or at least the points. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you're right. Because when you're checking it, yeah, you're right. But I'm sure there's a way for you to have a report on that, but we don't want that. Who
I don't
cares?
know. I don't know. I might reach out to like the Amex like little chat bot to see if I can get it, because now I'm just curious. Like I went through it and made some notes of like, because I've been on some amazing trips that is like bucket list items, and I was very curious like how it's always interesting like how many points people spend on things, and um to put actual like trips to the point amount, I think is super helpful sometimes.
Okay, cool. So do you want to talk a little bit about yourself or
Yeah. I'm based in Miami now, and software engineer, and I'm starting to do my own YouTube channel as well. I don't show my face on my YouTube channel, so I'm not used to being on camera like this. But I do like coding tutorials, building apps. So ironically, I do have a couple like app launches last week and this week that I'm excited about. But yeah, that's me.
I love it. So I don't know if you know, but you were the very first person who actually guided me on this points journey. So when we met, I actually met Kande, your wife, first. And we met during like this happy hour. And then she was telling me, oh, my husband loves to travel, blah, blah, blah. But she never mentioned points, right? So I was like, oh, okay, sure, nice. Who doesn't, right? And then we became super close and then we became friends. And then she actually told me that you were into points. And I'm like, wait a minute. Because that was like the beginning of my literally journey on points. I was starting to study a little bit, nothing too obsessed yet. And then I met you. So that was so funny because I remember we did a wine, I think it was a wine night, whatever, at this restaurant. And
Yeah, this
then you were asking me which card I was going to use. And then I showed you my city prestige, and you're like, okay, she has something right there. That was so funny. And then after that, you were like, okay, so you need to watch this specific podcast, and then you need to read this blog, blah, blah, blah. So after that, I think it was my key when I was like, okay. So I started watching the Frequent Miler podcast, and then I just became obsessed. So thanks to you, you literally point me to the right direction. So, like, don't do this, do that. I don't know if you know this, but yeah.
I feel so honored, but I will say I think I do go on. Like I said, I don't talk that much, but when it comes to certain topics like coding, traveling, and specifically points, I'll go off on rants. And usually people their eyes glaze over, or they just think I'm like lying about like the trips that we taken and or how we paid for them. 99% of people just like it goes over their head, but you're the only one that was like asking follow-up questions. So that's when then I think we talked about for a while, and I think every single time we hang out, it goes off of points, of course.
Yeah, because I don't think this happens very often. Usually, when you get hooked, into the points game, you won't have many friends to talk to. And when I saw it, like, oh my God, a human being right next to me that knows about points. What? Because
So
I
how
get to
much
talk about this to my husband. He's like, oh, fine, whatever. And then that's why I felt the need to create my Instagram because I didn't have many friends to talk to about this. So I was so excited when I saw that you knew and you were giving me tips. I'm like, what? This is amazing. A
and now you've just taken to a whole other level
whole
and,
new
like,
level.
really
I know.
started to listen.
I wasn't planning this actually when I created my Instagram. I was just like, I just wanted to talk to someone about points. That's it. And then I don't know, just things became
Well,
serious, I
you got plenty of people to talk to now that this
guess.
in this business,
Exactly.
so that's
Now
definitely
I'm just like
you've accomplished your
having
goal 10
guests.
times over.
That's amazing. All right, so I prepared a few questions for you. I'm actually very curious to know what made you start. What was like something that you saw that you were like, wait a minute, I really want to research this.
I really had to think about this one for a while because just like you, like, everyone I feel like gets their start from somebody and, like, maybe just a one-off comment, and, I mean, given mine was in 2016, I was trying to figure out why. So I had like a roommate in New York City, and he had a friend visiting in from Seattle who was really into points, and he was really like into Alaska points. So he would open up 2 or 3 credit cards on the same day from Alaska because it was a Bank of America that is one of the few issuers that would allow that. And I didn't understand like, okay, I live in New York, like you live in Seattle. Alaska is Seattle is Alaska hub, so like how are Alaska points useful to me? And so he like talked about like certain trips, and specific one was Tokyo, and it piqued my interest because I really wanted to go to Asia. I think at that point I haven't been to Asia at all yet. Um, and so my very first trip after that was actually, like I said, I got the Chase Sapphire Reserve card. There's like a big that was like the big points card that like started up some of these other like cards. But then I redeemed points to go to Hong Kong in economy class because I didn't have enough points. So it's a 16-hour flight in economy.
Oh
Not
my
something I
gosh.
would do now, but it was a great redemption for me, but it was through the portal. And then the more trips you take, like the more you learn a little bit every single time. Like even not to go too much off topic, but like I was even like listening to some of the other talks with Nicole and Ben, the last two, and they both mentioned something I just learned of like being a globalist member that you could book a place without actually having the points yet. I was
I
like,
had no idea about that either. I'm like,
had no
whoa.
idea. I'm a globalist too, and I was like, I have no idea. So like every single time, like it's just years of like small bits of information that accumulate over time. And but to your original question, yeah, it was just like a friend. I guess just like I guess I started the conversation with you. He started the conversation with me, and then I just went into like a rabbit hole of like all the possibilities of places that I really wanted to go, couldn't afford at the time, and now with points, this is all possible. So.
Anything is possible with points nowadays. You see, that's why I love to have talks like this because you can only post so much. And then sometimes I'll post something and then someone will might need this information, but then the post is old, they won't see it. So I think it's nice to have conversations like that because who knew you were going to learn something new? You know, like globalist thing. That's amazing. All right. What else? You have redeemed so many things. I want you to talk about your favorites. You just went to Australia last year. We want to know more. New Zealand. There's someone from Australia here watching us. She just joined us, the group today, and she wants to know how to book a trip to Australia. So if you could help her on that, that would be amazing.
I'll try. That one maybe I'll start with that one because that is my favorite story of like, okay, one of those nights that I can't fall asleep, so I'm just of course, like any normal points person, you can't fall asleep, you're just on Frequent Miler or Doctor of Credit, and I think on Doctor of Credit actually, maybe on both of them, it was like 2 a.m., and they posted of, like, United Airlines, like, wide availability to Sydney, for 80,000 points. I was like, I don't have any United points, and I don't know if this is going to last long because that was like on my bucket list for the longest time. I mean, people on the West Coast have a little bit of advantage. I don't know where she's from, but people on the West Coast have a little bit of advantage because there's a lot more options. But from Miami to get anywhere in Asia or Australia, it's very difficult without like um, re
Positioning flight, yeah.
repositioning. Yeah. But this one was like it included first class, which is like domestic first class, which is okay, but to San Francisco and then San Francisco in like business Polaris class for 80,000 points for me and my wife. But it was like a year and a half in advance. So like uh, I didn't know what we were going to be doing. We both had full time jobs. Like you have to take off a couple of weeks of work to do that one. And so I tried to book it. Like since I didn't have any United points, I like got all the Chase points I had, all the built points, which was like only 15,000 built points. Pushed everything to there. Tried to. I got all the points there in time, and then I put it in my cart to check out, and I got an error message that it wouldn't work, and I was like, if I reload
Wait, you
this.
transferred to United? I didn't hear that part.
Sorry, I get excited about these
No,
stories.
we love it. We wanna know all the
So
details.
so the only partners with United, I think, are Chase and
Jeez.
Built, right? Sometimes I forget because I don't really
I
use
don't even know
United
if
too
Bill
often.
transfers to United. Like, yeah, I don't even know. Do they?
I
So you
think it
booked directly with United?
yeah, directly with
Okay.
United. That was the
For
only
80? For
for 80
80,000 with United? Wow, that was a
for
huge
like
price.
80,000. Hold on, I think I wrote it down because it's one of my favorite ones. It was like 80,000 points and
Yeah,
then 18.
United. Bill transfers to United. Yeah, I
So
didn't
I
know
think
that.
those are
I
the
don't
only
use United at all, so that's how much I know.
yeah, exactly. I think I only flown United one other time, and it was like to New York, and that was about it. So I transferred all the points that I had, which was literally all of my Chase points, all of my Bill points, 160,000 points. Went to the cart to check out, and it wouldn't let me like check out, and like if I reload, it would have kicked me out. So like I took a screenshot, which is like one tip when you're doing this with a lot of points, take a screenshot, and at 2 a.m., I called the customer service of United Airlines. And luckily, no one else was calling at 2 a.m. and they answered. And she was the most helpful agent because she was like, she was gonna go check into it. And then she was like in the middle of telling me what to do. And then my phone died. It was like 2 a.m. So I didn't have time to charge. I was like, that's it.
No.
It's done. It's done. And then I charged my phone for about 10 minutes and she called me back. She called me back
They
saying
never
that she
do.
was able to book it for me while my phone was dead. I was like, that's the best customer service experience I ever got. But like one tip there is like you never know if you don't call. So like some agents are super helpful and then some agents just have no idea. So um most of the time I feel like everyone here is going to know more than the agent, so you have to like walk them through it. But in this scenario she was super helpful. She actually believed me that I had it in the cart, and then literally 10 minutes after that there was a post saying like the deal is gone already. So like if I wouldn't have fixed it then, like I wouldn't have gotten the flight because I think it was like a mistake or something because there was just wide availability from the entire country over to Australia in business class. So
Wow, and
that
you
was my
found 2 seats. That is huge. From Miami, you
from
just
Miami.
found a hidden gem right there. My God,
Yeah.
that was
Yes.
great. Because
Yeah.
usually a flight like that will cost, like, thousands, like,
Thousands
at
of dollars.
least 300,000 or something like or more with
Oh, yeah,
United.
especially with United or, like, United and Delta are usually, like, can really shoot up a lot, but yeah, I was really excited about that one.
That
But
was amazing.
I mean, the learning from that one is, like, you never know what it's gonna pop up, so just be ready to, like, book it. I know a lot of people on I follow, like, the Award Miles subreddit, and a lot of people are like, take a screenshot and is like, "Is this a good deal?" And I always just make one comment like, either book it right this second or it's going to be gone in 10 seconds because like if you have to a lot of times if you have to ask then it usually is a pretty good deal,
Yeah.
but of course case by case basis.
That's amazing. I love that you got that. Like that was a really good find. Honestly, something similar happened to me, but not to your point. Like it wasn't a huge find. I was trying to book on Air France for me, my mom, and my husband from Miami to Lisbon. And then I found this deal, right, that they released every month. And so I transfer my points, and every time I do this, I feel like in 10 years from now, I'm gonna be redeeming my points, and every time that I transfer, I'm gonna have a mini heart attack because it is what it is. And then I transfer my points. I saw the availability, but when I clicked to book, I couldn't book it. And I'm like, what now? What should I do? And then I called. And then when I was on the phone with the agent, she was like, "Oh, so you don't see the availability anymore?" I'm like, "No." And I didn't have a screenshot at the time because I was literally driving to the gym. I was literally driving. So I parked my car and then I initiate the transfer. I'm like, "Listen, I need to work out. My pre workout just kicked in. I need to do something." But then I told the agent, "Listen, I saw this." And she was like, "Let me talk to my manager and then I'm gonna call you back." And I'm like, they're never gonna call me back. This is never gonna happen. But then she did. I was in the middle of my squat. I was squatting when she called me. I'm like, oh my God. So I answered the phone. I know it was her because it was from friends, right? From friends calling me. So then I pick up. She's like, "I was able to honor your request, blah, blah, blah." So that was like, wow. I was not
I mean,
expecting
similar. I
at
mean,
all.
that's similar to the what I just said. Yeah, like you never know what you're gonna get. Like some of them are super helpful, and then some of them just have no idea. So if they have no idea, it's better to just hang up and like try to call again to get someone
Yeah,
to help you.
exactly. I mean, you live, you learn, right? I remember in the beginning, I was trying to, because I have a huge name issue. My name is so long, and every time I try to transfer something, it never works. I always have to call. So one day, I was trying to move a few points from Chase to Hyatt, and then I tried, and then I couldn't. Blah, blah, my name, and then I called, right? And then the agent was like, "We can do that. We don't transfer points to Hyatt." I'm like, what? And since I was in the beginning of my points game, I started, arguing with her. And you don't do that. You just hang up. You're like, okay, sure. So then I wasted like half an hour of my time and hers because she didn't do it. And then I'm like, you know what? Okay, I lost patience. And then I hung up and then I called again. First person that I spoke to, the first 5 minutes, she was like, it's done. I'm like, sometimes you just have to hang up and call again. So that's the HUCA rule. So make sure you memorize that. Hang up and call again. Because
I didn't know there's an acronym for it, but I like it. That I literally
there you
wrote down like
go.
some tips, and that's like number two of my tip of like everyone here
Yeah,
is gonna know more most of the time more than the agent. So like if you don't, then recall or like just step. I have had times where I've like walked them through the process of like, okay, these are your transfer partners. This is how you're gonna do it.
no
Uh,
way.
but I
Wow,
mean,
that's good.
whatever it takes to get a good deal.
Oh, no, absolutely. I'm with you on that. All right. So coming back to Australia, was that your favorite or
Yeah, that was probably my favorite just because like the story of how I got it and then like I booked it. See, I know I book a little bit different than you do in that like I book so far in advance and then I like to use a lot of currencies that I can like book and then change and book or cancel without having any fees. Off my hand off the topic is like American, Alaska, Delta, and United are all you could use points, book it, cancel it without any fees. So I just enjoy like finding a good deal, booking it, and then even if I don't eventually go,
you just
um, then I just cancel it. A lot of times I'll figure out a way to go. Like, I mean, for better or for worse, that trip I was like, we both have full time jobs. I have no idea what we're gonna do. Unfortunately, we both got laid off like a month before the trip, and it was like, okay, well, that was kind of a blessing in disguise. So we're definitely gonna take this trip, and it all worked out because we got jobs right before we came back from the trip, and it was all fine. But you never know what's gonna happen. I just like booking in advance. I know you do a little bit different for
the
booking
only thing that
last
I
minute.
booked in advance was my trip to Tokyo because I couldn't screw this up because it's our 10th year anniversary. So I
Yeah,
better have my, together. So I booked, I was looking at the date today and I booked in September for a trip in September. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so proud of myself. I've never done this before. I never book anything in advance. And it was with American Airlines. So even if I change my mind, I could cancel and still have the American Airlines miles available for me because they're so valuable and you can book so many amazing things with American Airlines. Also, I booked my way back with Alaska. In Alaska, you can cancel for free if it's like Alaska flights, but if it's partners, I learned this a few weeks ago. If you're canceling a partner flight with Alaska, you have to pay $12, which is fine. Yeah, I didn't know
Is it
that.
even
Maybe
$12?
it's a new policy because they used to be free, right? But they're charging now with partners. So my flight, I booked with Alaska Miles, but I booked a Japan Airlines flight. So if you change that, you'd have to pay $12, something like that. Either 12 or 19. But I
I
think it's
was like,
12.
either way, that's so small that it doesn't really matter.
It's amazing.
Sometimes where like I have booked a few times where specifically on this same trip to Australia, we eventually went to Australia, then we went to New Zealand for 3 weeks, and we did van life, and only lasted in the van for a week, and then ended up in the Maldives on the way home. But to get from the Maldives, we had to stop in Singapore from Australia, and I used aeroplan points because that gave me like a free stopover. So I kind of
Mm.
used like Melbourne, Australia to Singapore. Singapore was a stopover for free, and then ended in the Maldives. But I had to cancel that last minute, and it was either like just lose 70,000 points and $300, or spend another $300 to get my 70,000 points back. So I spent the $300, but it really hurt to spend
Yeah,
$300
with
to
Air
save my
Canada is
points.
tricky.
And now
Air
like they're
Canada
stuck there.
it's bad.
So
For
like
don't change any Air Canada seats because they will charge you. When I booked, so the first time that I ever redeemed Air Canada points was when I was going to visit our friends in Toronto for Christmas. And then I saw one way because usually when you're booking flights, you only search for one way first, right? And then you find a good deal and then you book it. So then I found Miami, Toronto for like 8,000 miles per person. And it was for me, my mom, and my husband. I'm like, let's book it. And then I booked it. But then our way back was extremely expensive. I couldn't find anything. And obviously, knowing me, it was a last minute thing. So I'm like, I got stuck with these points, with the flights actually, and I couldn't change it. So then, you know what? I was like, I called them, I'm like, can I please change? He's like, it's even more expensive than the price that I paid to cancel. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So, you know what I did? This might be a hack, might not, but it worked with me. So then I looked at the flight history. The flight got changed by 1 minute.
ooh,
1 minute. And I was on the phone with the agent. I'm like, so my flight got changed by 1 minute. And I know that if your flight changes, it has to be free. And he was so mad at me. Sure, I'll do this one time for you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay,
you
thank
know
you.
that's the
So
rule.
my cancellation was free because I studied the flight itinerary. I had like, I think 2 weeks. The flight changed 1 minute, and then he gave me that. So that's why I got stuck with like 28,000 Air Canada points from 2 years ago. And I don't know what to do with them. And now they're going to devaluate. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's such a good call. I mean, if we keep going on, this could be like a 3-hour conversation. So
Oh
maybe
my
we gotta
God,
keep it all. But that's such a good call out of like the changing of the flight, because I from Philly, so I go to back to Philly from Miami like 4 or 5 times a year, and I don't like they're pretty expensive flights sometimes, 3, 4, sometimes $500 depending if I'm going during the holidays or something. So what I always used to do was book. I would transfer Amex points to British Airways and then to book on American Airways, and it was only like at the time, I think it was like 10,000 points per each way, but they charge you like a large fee to change it. So like you had to be very confident. So like we had, if it was a wedding, it was like that's not going to change, so that's fine to book. If it's Christmas, that's not going to change in any holiday. But every once in a while, I would have to change it, and since I booked it so far in advance, like they'll just change planes, and then that gives me the ability to cancel and get all my points back for free. So like that's a good
oh.
call out. That's a nice little tip for people to
Yeah,
know.
it was
Like,
like I was so fast because when I called, I wasn't prepared at all. It was just like something that came to me, and inside the universe was like, "Girl, check the flight." So I did, and I was lucky enough because they were literally charging me $400, even though I paid with points. and I was going to end up paying Air Canada to cancel my flight. It wouldn't make
Yeah,
sense. So then I thought about that. So guys, this is a nice tip if you ever want to, like, ask your miles back. Check the itinerary because you might be
yeah,
in
you might
London.
look into it. Yeah, that's a really good call out because I even booked like a flight like 2 months ago. I think I told you um to London from Miami because it was so cheap. It was only like 7,000 points and $70. If I cancel it, I'm probably not gonna go on it. It's gonna cost me $100 to cancel it. So
Oh,
that might be something that's just like hopefully they change it and I can get my money and my points back and without paying any money. Otherwise, it would make more sense to just leave it there and then not pay the money. I don't know. Points
yeah.
game
With
is a
Virgin, I learned something. So we always have stories, right? And that's how we learn. With Virgin, I booked a flight for my mom. This is actually such a funny story. I booked a flight for my mom. My mom was here. She left a couple weeks ago. And then I booked a LATAM flight using Virgin Atlantic points. It was like 11,000. It was super cheap. And then I forgot about the flight because I booked, I think, 2 months, 3 months in advance. So then time comes, mom needs to leave, and then we go to the airport, like super sad, like saying goodbye. And then we get to the Latam thing. Nobody was there. And I'm like, what's going on? I looked at my mom. She had like so many like luggages. We were like almost crying, saying goodbye. Nobody was there. My husband was like, check the date of the flight. We literally drove her a day after her flight because the flight was going to be 2 a.m. So we mixed that. Instead of going on from Thursday to Friday, we took her to the airport from Friday to Saturday. Oh my god, that was such a funny story. We were like, Leon was so mad, and my mom and I were laughing so loud. Like that's that was like so crazy. So I called Virgin. I'm like, listen, this happened. What should we do? So they're like, this is a no-show. You're literally gonna miss your flight. Oh, the points. And I'm like, great. At least it wasn't, at least it made us laugh. So that was a funny story. So if you do a no show on Virgin, you're gonna lose the points. So just so
yeah.
you know.
No, I'm planning on losing the points already for sure.
Okay. Okay. Just making sure you know.
I don't know. Maybe I changed my mind last minute. I mean, we go like the day before.
Maybe
I don't
just
know.
go to London, have a meal there, and then come
Then
back.
come back. I
Or
mean,
you can go to Gymkhana. Gymkhana is a really nice Indian restaurant there in London. Leonardo and I went, and oh my god, I still think about that food. It was divine.
dude,
So yeah, maybe
it's such a
use
good
it for
deal that
that.
it's something I might do, honestly, like 7,500 points plus $70 each way to go to London on a direct flight. Yeah, it's economy, but for that many
Sure,
points,
yeah.
it's an economy for 8 hours. I don't care that much.
I mean, it's Europe. We love Europe. All right, let's move on.
Here, I could go we went way off topic
I
on
have
that
a
one,
sense
so
we're gonna need a part two here, right?
yeah, I was about to say.
So
Here, I'll do another one of my favorite trips. We did, another
perfect.
trip that was actually planned just because I found a really good deal, and that was on Q Suites. So,
Mm,
we've been fortunate enough to fly Q Suites 5 times, which is just, like, ridiculous to say. I think I was watching the call with Nicole, and she said something similar of, like, 4 or 3 times. I was like,
yeah.
it's just crazy to say that, but luckily for us, like Miami and Qatar is like a hub, so that you could fly direct to Doha, and from Doha you could get to the Maldives, you could get to South Africa, you could get to what are some other like bucket list destinations. I think there's one more that I'm missing, but we went from Miami to Doha and then Doha to South Africa, and we did a South African safari. So we went to Cape Town for a couple of days. We did the safari in forgetting the national park. But we did that for like a week, and then we ended in wine country back in Cape Town. And that was like one of my favorite trips. Is like such a diverse set of like scenery in the same country of South Africa, and it's so far. Like South Africa was on my bucket list for so many years, and to get there for 70,000 points in Q suites, like that whole trip. each way is amazing. Like it's one of my one of my favorite deals. That in like
So
Australia, I
how
like
did you book all these key suites with American Airlines Miles,
American
Avios?
Airlines. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that
that is
that
the
one,
best option, right?
yeah, I think it was 70,000 miles each. Actually, it might have been 75,000 because I think that second leg from Doha to South Africa might cost an extra 5,000 points, but it's so
Mm.
insignificant, and they're both in business class. So that was a pretty amazing trip. So that was Qatar Airways booked with American Airlines points. The previous one was Australia with United points, so transferring from Chase to United, and then on the way home from Australia, like I started to say, we came back through Maldives. So Maldives is another bucket list item, but it's also like closer to home in a weird way.
Mhm.
But because Maldives has a direct flight to Doha, we were able to stop in the Maldives. We went to the Park Hyatt Maldives for 6 nights, which was I have like a list of me and Kande always have like a list of like our top favorite hotels we've ever been to because that's how spoiled we are with points. And Park Hyatt Maldives is definitely on the top of the list.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting.
So then we were able to fly Q Suites again to get home from the Maldives. So Maldives, Doha, Doha, Miami. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was about to ask, how did you guys come back? I'm always scared about going to the Maldives because I think I'm just gonna be bored. I don't know.
nah, I mean the Maldives, specifically the Park Hyatt Maldives. I heard it was that between that and the Alila, and then there's also a Marriott version. I think there's a JW. There's the new JW
There's
Marriott, and
so
there's an
many,
older
so
JW
many
Marriott.
over there.
Yeah, it's definitely like one of the best places to use points in the
Yeah.
Maldives, but it is super far to go. So like I think we would probably go back, but at the same time, like it is quite a trip. It's not for the faint of heart for sure. But I don't think you'll get bored because there's like the water is so clear. Like we went scuba, like you're on the overwater villa, so you went scuba diving every day, or you upgraded to an
I
overwater
wanna ask
gondola.
something.
Okay. To answer your question, no, I had globalists, but I read up for that park for specific park Hyatts. Some of the most popular ones you globalists don't get upgraded. So what I did was we stayed on a beach villa for 3 days, I think, and then we just paid the extra money to get upgraded to the overwater villa, which was I think was like $200, $250 a day, which is not cheap,
Not
but at the
bad.
same time, we're not going to go back to the Maldives anytime
Yeah.
soon, so it was worth it. Um, I know like certain ones I didn't even have Globalist at the time. I used like a
Get a
certificate, so I didn't
certificate.
have like the pool. But now I think I do have global status, and I get the suite upgrade certificates. So I don't know if I'd be able to use that or not. So that'd be pretty cool. Starting to use those more often, which are like really pretty awesome at really nice places.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes I became globalist this year too for the first time. So I still need to like learn all the tips and tricks. And I don't know if so for the suite upgrade in a guest of honor, are they the same thing or no? No, right?
No, no. So you can be upgraded if you have guest of honor, but a suite certificate guarantees you a
Guaranteed.
suite when you book it. So we're going to Denver in August, and we're staying at the Thompson Denver, and I was able to
Sorry, my dog.
like guarantee a suite for like both me and my parents. So we're going with my parents, so 2 rooms. So it just allows you to like confirm a suite, which like a regular room, a suite up room would be like $800 a night, which is crazy. So just if you were able to book that room with point or with cash, it would be 350. So you're able to use like some points, but then the suite upgrade almost like doubles the value of those points, which is pretty crazy. Which I just started using like this year, so probably
So
more to come
you
from
became
that
a
one.
globalist.
Yeah, yeah.
Nice,
It was really
nice.
from that
Welcome to the
Australia trip.
team. Do you have any now that you're a globalist, do you have any like hotel that you're like, I cannot wait to use my benefits, my status benefits on this hotel?
Man,
Or not yet?
I've been so fortunate to like here, I'll just go over some of my favorite hotels that I've been to. So number one, Hyatt Maldives. Number two is the I don't even know how to say this one, Canvas Oya. It's part of the small luxury hotel,
Mm,
but unfortunately not with Hyatt anymore. It's with
yeah.
Hilton. But you with the Hilton free night certificate, you could still stay there. So that was amazing in Greece, Oya, overlooking the water.
Oh, I
But
remember that hotel, yeah. I'm so
yeah,
sad when SLH part ways with Hyatt.
yeah,
I
it's
was
so
able
funny.
to book one super amazing hotel, SLH, use a pre-night certificate in Vienna. Oh, the hotel was so nice.
I heard that one was really nice. I
Yeah.
haven't been to that one, but the Oyo one, it's small luxury hotel. I didn't know. I wasn't globalist, so I didn't even think about it. I didn't know you got free breakfast. So me and Kande kind of just skipped breakfast, or like we went on a hike and like got the coffee and a croissants, and then like as we are checking out, they asked how the breakfast was, and like you didn't tell us we got free breakfast, so we just skipped it every single day. So like
You
that was
missed it.
and that
No.
was only
Oh
like
my
2 years ago. So like you're just like constantly learning like things that they won't go out of your way to tell you. You kind of just have to know and always ask. Yeah, always ask for breakfast.
yeah,
And then for globalists, definitely the by far the biggest thing is like the free breakfast. Like you can't always be guaranteed the suite upgrades, but the free breakfast in certain places, like we were just in New York before Christmas, and I mean that breakfast is like $100 a day, and that's hard to stomach if if you're just not getting it for free. So like you said, we stayed there for 5 days. That's like $500 worth of
that's
value just
great.
from getting a great breakfast. So
Yeah, no, speaking of free breakfast, so I'm someone that I have no shame. So this is what I do when every time that I wasn't a globalist, I when I was traveling to a Hyatt, and I wasn't at the time I only had explorer status because I did the built whatever thing. I think it was 2 years
yeah,
ago. So then I was able to reach 10 nights and then I became explorers. And then everywhere I'll go, I would literally check in and then I'll say, listen, with my, I know I'm not a globalist yet, but I'm getting there. So can you please check with your manager to see if we can get free breakfast? I swear it worked like 3 out of 4. So they'll be like, let me check. And then they will come back. They allowed free breakfast for your stay this time. And I'm like, thank you so much. So the first time that I actually so something happened that made me, come up with this trick. We were in Nice and then we stayed at the Hyatt Regency in Nice, which is a beautiful, beautiful hotel, 5-star, waterfront, amazing. I cannot recommend more. So when we were checking in, they literally offered us breakfast. And I'm like, what? Why? They literally did. And I'm like, okay, I'll take it. And then from Nice, we traveled another time to Amsterdam and we stayed at the Hyatt Regency over there. So then I was like going to my check-in. Listen, Hyatt Regency Nice gave us breakfast. Look, what are you gonna do about that? So they gave us breakfast too. And I'm like, oh, this story is becoming more and more interesting. So then from Amsterdam, we flew to New York because we were doing a positioning flight. And then we stayed one night at the Hyatt JFK, whatever. So then I was doing my check-in. I'm like, listen, I got free breakfast on Nice and then Amsterdam. What are you guys gonna do for us? They gave us breakfast. So all you have to do is ask sometimes.
wow.
Literally.
I haven't tried that one. I like that one.
I tried that 3 times, and Leon was like, "Oh my god," he was like so embarrassed. I'm like, "You stay there. I'll
But
I'll do
he
everything."
enjoyed the free breakfast though.
He enjoyed it very much. He always complains about these things, and then I'm like, "Oh, I'm sure you are enjoying your free breakfast now, right?" Yeah. So you already have your no. Go chase your yes. That's my
That's
theory for
awesome.
everything.
You should have
All
like
right,
a
let's
little
move on.
yeah.
So now that you have all this experience, what is your favorite points currency, credit card, and why?
So it definitely changes every year based on our travel. So like obviously to be able to spend 2 million points, I think I was opening up a new credit card at least once a month for the 2 years prior to those 2 years. So like it took a little while to get 2 million points. So those I would get like just random cards, Chase business, a lot of Chase business cards. But right now, I think I have a few keeper cards. And to keep globalist status, I just got the Hyatt card last year, the Hyatt Chase Hyatt card. So I've kind of been putting all my spend on that one because there's no way I'm going to spend 60 nights. Like even with the Australia trip being 5 weeks long, that's still you still have to stay a ton of times at Hyatt's. So with every $5,000 spend on that card, you get two elite nights, and then with the card, just having it, you get 5 elite nights. So the idea is like with just regular spend and some business spend on it, we'll be able to keep globalist uh, from that, and then so that's my big one right now. So like basically everything goes on that Hyatt card, and then we also have a Chase card, but all the Chase points go to Hyatt. Like that's kind of
Yeah,
like
that's
one to
pretty much
one,
what I
basically.
do too. So every time I see a transfer bonus from Chase, I'm like, too bad, I can't take it because all of my Chase points will go directly into Hyatt. Everything, everything. They save me so much.
Same with me. Like when I first started like doing this points game, it was like all on flights, and like first it started with free economy flights, and then it started with business class flights. But honestly, I think we're really valuing the nice hotel stays, especially in like beach destinations where like the location you're staying in the room a lot. So like something like the Maldives or the one in Greece or Uluwatu, you stay in Bali, like the hotel almost is a destination. Like, of course, you're not gonna stay the
Yeah,
whole time, but it just makes it like a better trip. So all of our Chase points goes there. All of our spend goes in the Hyatt card, and then outside of that, I got a keeper card, Ritz Carlton. I think one of my favorite ones
nice.
actually, and I think I'm gonna have Conde get that one too because you get like it's $450 a year, but you get $300 in travel credits, which all you have to do is call. There's no, it's not like Amex where you have to pick a specific airline and make sure you use that airline to get the credits. And some things count, some things don't. I just booked like kind of like flights for the rest of the year. And like even the taxes and fees on all the Alaska flights I booked, you could just use that for the credit. So it's almost like cash to me. And then that brings it down to $150. And then every year you get an 85K certificate for a Marriott hotel. So
Wow,
in
that's
Miami,
amazing.
sometimes we do the staycation on South Beach or something, and I'm not going to spend $1,500 a night for a hotel, but with an 85K certificate, you can. So that makes that super nice. So that's a keeper card that I always have, and not to mention the lounge, the priority pass. We
Access.
each know those. And
I
then
love
outside
it.
of that, I think got the built card, which I don't use as much, but if you have rent, that's kind of a no-brainer. And then Amex Platinum. I got the Morgan Stanley one though. I think I got it right here. Yeah,
You have so
Morgan.
many. I remember one day he texted
These are
me
just
a
platinum
picture.
cards.
Jesus Christ, how many MX Platinum can you have?
They're not all active, but they're all platinum cards. But that one I really like because you get a free. So I feel like everyone's situation is different. For us, we live in Miami. We go back to Philly a lot. Both Miami and Philadelphia have an Amex lounge, and so we use them quite a bit. If I'm going to Philly 5, 6 times a year, then you're using each one of those a bunch of times. And so I value that just for the lounge itself. And then with the Morgan Stanley, you get a free guest. So Conde gets her own Amex Platinum without having to pay that fee. So that's definitely a keeper card, even though it's so expensive, and some of the fees kind of help. Not all of them, but and then the one I almost canceled actually was Amex Gold. I don't know if I'm gonna keep that one next year. They just gave me
What?
they just told me to spend like $1,000 to get 35,000 points. So I just kept it
That's
open
good.
for another year. But and once they stop offering me that, I think it's done for. I don't know. Some of the
Really?
credits are
So
getting harder and harder to
if you
use.
cancel that, what are you gonna use in restaurants?
Maybe the bill card. I don't know.
Bill is very valuable, honestly. Bill
Yeah.
is super valuable, especially because they transferred to Alaska and we never know when the route for MX is going to end for
Yeah.
Hawaiian, Alaska. It could
Yeah.
be happening right now. We don't know.
Yeah.
So
I think your original question was what points do I prefer the best? Is Hyatt points and then Alaska points. So all of those Amex points that I get, that almost at this point, almost all of my Amex points that I got from all the 200,000 point bonuses from all the card openings is going to Alaska because I'm able to book direct flight to Philly for 7,500 points, booked flights to Denver direct, booked flights to Frankfurt. We have a wedding in Italy this year, so we booked business class on Condor for
Condor? Yes.
55,000 points.
In
Like,
Miami? From Miami or
yeah.
nice? Yeah, they have a direct flight. I'm
Yeah, so
excited to
like,
fly Condor. They look amazing. I almost booked Condor on our way back from Europe, but I just booked something else. But
but they're
yeah,
just getting like they're getting like more and more flexible. Like even the flight you booked for your mom that you just talked about of like going back to Brazil, it was on LATAM, right?
yeah,
So like now when we go to Argentina, we used to book like Virgin, used to use Amex points to transfer to Virgin, then to get from Miami to Cordoba. But like if we change our dates, it's the same like fee issue where you'd have to pay to cancel or change it. But now Alaska has that same route for 10,000 points less.
that's
So
amazing.
it's like you could use Alaska points to get to South America, get to Europe, and then get within the US. And then you can I've even used it to get to to get to Africa, to get to Japan with a free stopover in Japan to end up in Vietnam. So like they're so flexible that honestly I might try to transfer all of my Amex points before
I
they
know.
close up that
Let's
loophole.
not even talk about it because I'm thinking about it. I have 250,000 coming up, and I'm like, should I transfer to Alaska?
Yeah, I might. I might.
I don't know. I mean, there's so much we can do. All right. Do you guys have any questions for him? Because I think we're gonna do a part two because there's still so much to talk about. We could be talking about for hours. We might need a part 10. Who knows? So if you guys have questions for him, now is the time because Tim is extremely knowledgeable. So if you have anything to ask him how he got, oh, someone asked what's doctor of credit.
Well, also, what Amex cards do you have? So I'll do the Amex card one first.
Perfect.
So for Amex, I have the Amex Express Morgan Stanley one, and that was because of you get the free guest versus like the regular Amex Platinum card. You have to pay, was it like 195 or 175 for another
175.
card? Yeah. So that's a keeper card, and then I think both me and Julia have opened up a couple Amex business cards. So that was literally just for I think it was
I
250,000
know.
points.
Straight up for that.
And then we also both opened up the Amex Business Gold cards, which is another 200,000 points. So
I still have the
literally
letter here. They sent me
both of
the
those
letter,
cards,
and then
yeah.
I cannot toss it because it's just like so beautiful. 200,000. I'm like, should I apply? I just did for the business platinum, but they just sent me the gold, and I'm like, guys, you want to
I
confuse
mean,
me
if you don't
because
use it, send it my way because I'll use the code. All you need is
I
the
have
code
the
on
letter
it.
here. I'll give it to you.
So those I keep opening up just for all the Amex points because uh, I don't know when the Amex points train is going to end. And then outside of that is just the Amex Gold card that I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep or not. Doctor Credit, that's another points website for last minute deals. That's kind of where I found like the 80,000 point deal on United Airlines. So Doctor Credit, frequent miler, the boarding area. What's another one? I don't really go on the points guy anymore. I don't know about you, but
Yeah, same. I mean,
kind of like all paid advertisements at this point. So
yeah. Wait, someone else had another question. Does
yeah,
the MX
yeah,
Platinum Morgan?
The Amex Platinum Morgan Stanley does give you Centurion Lounge access and a plus one. So that's why I like to keep that one versus like the other one you have to pay the $190. I forget what it is, but it's not cheap.
Oh, can you list those websites? So he was talking about Doctor Credit. Is it Doctor Credit or Doctor of Credit?
Um,
I think it's Doctor
I think,
Credit.
yeah, I
Doctor.
have it saved as a bookmark, so I don't actually know. Doctorofcredit.com.
Oh,
Yeah.
Doctor of Credit. So guys, it's doctorofcredit.com. Sorry.
And then
And
frequent
what was the other site that you were talking? So we also listen to
yeah, I'll
frequentmiler.com,
just
but maybe Julie and Tim will be the new frequent milers because we're gonna talk a lot. So make sure to check for part two.
I think if we do a part two, we need maybe
We're
a
gonna bring even
guideline.
more
We're both
content
gonna
for
go
you
off
guys.
topic.
Yeah, it's gonna be even better. Today was just a warm up, so we, can get to know each other a little bit,
I
like
have
we
like
don't.
I have like a long list of things that to talk about, and we got past two.
Perfect. Okay, more content for everyone. So, guys, if you want a part two, make sure to comment on the chat because if not, we're not gonna do it. You need to comment. Someone said, "Can't wait for part two." All right. And I think, yeah, I think that's it for now because we have so much to talk about. And I still have like 5 questions. I have a lot of questions to ask you. We didn't have time to cover everything.
I mean, do you have like a specific time that you usually keep this to, like an hour, or
Usually it's around an hour,
do you
but
want to do
yeah,
one more?
I literally no, listen, I could be talking to you
I
for
know.
the entire night, but I have an event to go.
Touche, touche.
That's why. Sorry guys, but we're going to do a part 2, a part 3, part 4. And then so you guys can learn, we can, exchange experiences, tips, and so much more. Thank you, Tim, so much for joining us. I hope you had fun. I had a lot of fun talking to you, and I always learn something new with you. And again, thank you so much for being the person who guided me, who pointed me to the right direction, who, had
Don't
the
give me that
patience
much
because
credit. You did all the
yeah,
work.
you are super advanced, and I was just like a child learning the points, and then you had all the patience, to like tell me. Now everybody has that. If you go into those Facebook groups and ask like a beginner question, people will like throw a knife at you, and you know that.
It definitely depends where you ask that question for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember one time I posted my very first question on Reddit. Can someone please tell
Oh,
me
Reddit?
blah blah blah? And they're like, we're not travel guides. I'm like,
Reddit is a dangerous place sometimes. So are you?
yeah. No, so that's why I wanted to create our WhatsApp group because and every time people initiate a question like, I know this is stupid, I'm like, you stop because we're very inclusive. We're not gonna be like that, like those groups that attack people. We're, embracing all levels here. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that the main thing to learn that I was trying to get across is like everyone is at a different level of like we're always still learning. Like I just learned about the Hyatt thing like 30 minutes before this on another one of your calls. So like no one knows everything. Always ask questions and yeah.
Yeah. All right. So last question. Can I apply for Morgan Stanley MX if I already have the platinum? I think you can, right?
They changed the rules. I've actually had this card
Oh
for
yeah.
probably one of the longest for like
The
5 years.
lifetime language.
But
Mhm.
so you definitely won't get the bonus, but I think you have to cancel the platinum card and then reapply for the Morgan Stanley card if you want that
Mhm.
one. Or because I don't think you can product change it because it's part of Morgan Stanley. But
We'll
I
come
think
back with the answer on part 2. So make sure
yeah,
you stay tuned. Make sure you write that down in your notes so we can come back with
I
an
gotta do
answer.
more research on that one. See, I don't know.
It's okay. We don't know everything. It's so much to know. And the information keeps on changing. So yeah. So we're
Absolutely.
gonna come back with that question on part 2. All right. So thanks guys for tuning in. That was so much fun. And I'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. See ya.